time for episode 6. So you've killed your palate. Okay, so, like I'm saying, I have left little piles of paint all over this palette. Just gonna take off this vermilion because it's expensive and I can still use it. Vermilion, by the way, lasts forever. It's one of the many great things about vermilion. And, you know, if you ever find yourself in this situation where, I don't know, when I was in school, I used to run off to the bar right after class ended and leave my palette and then forget about it because I was at the bar, and go back the next day and there'd just be little piles of paint all over it. So I'm perpetually killing palettes. This will be probably the 50th time I've brought this little palette back to life. So I used to freak out about it and I'd buy new palettes, and you know, I always buy the cheap ones because I'm going to ruin them, but in this episode, I'm going to show you how to redeem a dead palette. Our friend, Real Turpentine. Now, if it's only been maybe overnight, you can get away with using just regular mineral spirits and scrape, scrape, scrape. But this has been on here for 5 days, so I'm going to bring the big boys out. Just a little. I want it to kind of like get spread around. Now, remember how I told you not to sand lead? Don't sand lead. But if you do have to sand lead, the way to do it is to wet sand. So I'm going to get this turpentine kind of spread around on the palette. I'm not too worried about redeeming the edges where I keep my piles, because whatever. But I do want my mixing area to be salvageable. So everywhere that I'm going to hit with sandpaper, I'm going to make sure it's wet so that I'm not sanding dry lead. Because remember I said you have to eat it? Well, you can also breathe it if it's in dust particles. So you really don't want to breathe it. And this is why you shouldn't sand it. But I'm going to sand it anyways. So you let that turpentine get on there and you kind of take a little, I think this is like 120 grit sandpaper. And I'm just kind of going in little circles trying to knock back what I can. Now the turpentine is really super strong. So if you're not careful and you leave it on there too long or you sand too much, you'll knock off the patina. You know what I mean by patina on a palette is like that nice oily slick surface that you build up over time or use tongue oil to get at the beginning. So I've got to keep an eye on what I'm doing to make sure I don't see any like blonde colored wood like they look when you buy them at the store and they're unfinished. So that's probably more than enough. I'm going to take this paper towel here. And just... Now, I like to kind of leave a little bit of the turpentine on there. I don't want to wipe it completely dry. Because actually, what the turpentine is doing is thinning the paint that I just scraped around. Oh, okay, so yeah, there's still some little, like, dots, but it's way better. And if I have the time, because I am the human I am, I run 2 palettes all the time, so that when I ruin one, I can use the other one. And so, if you have the time, what I will do now is take a little, see, this is my current working palette. I'm going to take a little of this raw umber and just a little bit of regular spirits, just because I don't want to huff the turpentine. And I'm going to kind of like make a glaze for the palette. And this is just going to kind of cover up some of those white spots I showed you. But I can only do this if I have the time to let the palette set. If you need to paint today, then do your thing. But see, it gives it a little bit more of that patina that you're after. And I occasionally do this even when my palette isn't ruined. Just a little raw umber or something, and a little bit of oil will keep it nice and glossy. And, you know, that satisfying when you're using your palette knife, that satisfying glide is from a good patina. Oh, come on. That looks really nice. Well, thanks for going through that with me, because I was just going to let it sit some more. See you tomorrow.